Are there certain things that you see play out on a regular basis that founders, it'd be helpful to be aware of as they're doing it themselves?
So I think often founders, because they've come in with a bit of romanticism, because we all have, focus on not necessarily vanity metrics, but vanity activities.
It's quite hard, I think, for founders when they're so in the moment and they're busy and they're in a rush and think to actually pay attention to that inkling sometime, because it's like, I don't really have time to fully explore.
It's interesting, just like I'm too busy, I can't be bothered. That's just the pushing it all down until something erupts and being afraid of the pain, but the pain is never going to go away. Then you're just giving yourself pain around pain. And so taking the time and being brave and walking through the fire to the other side releases so much. And then you can make better decisions and lead a more purposeful life.
Hi, I'm James Johnson, founder and CEO coach, and this is the Peer Effect podcast, where your peers will tell you what's unlocking their 10 million plus business. Today, Beth and I are going to explore what a hired operator can see that a founder can't. Before we start, please hit subscribe so you don't miss any episodes on whatever platform you're listening on. And now, on with the show. So Beth, welcome to the show.
Great. Thanks for having me today. I'm looking forward to it.
Well, we're going to jump into what sort of hired operators can see that founders can't, which is very relevant to what you've been through. But I hear you also, before we start, a bit of interest in pottery.
I have. I think I've already passed through the pottery stage and now I'm into houseplants.
Right.
I didn't plan it that way, but I had a lot of spare pots and now I have a lot of plants to put in the pots.
Nice.
Yeah. But just as a bit of a background, so I've ended up doing 3 big roles in my career and then taken a year or 2 out in between each role. The first time was definite burnout. 5 years building a cloud contact center company called New Voice Media. And I started with a 2-month-old and a 2-year-old.
Wow.
And towards the last 18 months, I was traveling to San Francisco a week in every 6 and just got utterly exhausted. So left not knowing what I ever wanted to do again, ended up taking 2 years out. My mother was diagnosed with motor neuron disease the day I left. So I had 9 months of her dying. I reconnected and met my children, and then did a CRO role, some other bits and pieces, and then joined Peak, did a whole run there, left and said, kind of that 4,000 weeks of what are you going to do with your life? What's the meaning of life? Didn't know what I was going to do next, but wanted to just explore. So that's when I got into pottery. I got into writing. I started a podcast. I joined 5 boards, possibly other things that I can't remember right now, and then transitioned into being a CEO. So I've always taken these career breaks along the way.
I like how your career break, the last one, involved doing so much. It's kind of I think it was just took some time off, just do some pottery, reconnect. It's and 5 boards.
I have a lot of energy, love learning, love being creative, love meeting people, and just had a great time exploring so much. I was kind of the opposite of, they tell you, focus on one thing and really achieve it. But because I didn't know what I wanted to achieve and I just wanted to explore, I focused on as many things as I possibly could.
I'm curious, looking back to using this of Steve Jobs' join the dots backwards talk, it feels like your progression to this point as a CEO, if you'd planned it, would kind of been perfect. You think to scale a business, you need to get sort of the growth side right and the execution side right. You spend a lot of time both on sort of go-to-market and growth, but you've also spent time on the execution side as COO. Does that lead you feel very well equipped now to step into a CEO role?
Oh, yeah, completely. And I didn't necessarily know at the start of my career that I wanted to be a CEO. So this will completely age me. But when I was young, I watched Wall Street, the movie with Michael Douglas.
Yes.
And I can't remember what the woman was in it, but she had a MBA, BA, joint degree from Harvard, and she was in her amazing suits and she was powerful. And I just was I want to be her. I grew up in New Mexico. Nobody was in business. Everybody's a scientist or in the Air Force. And I didn't really know what the difference is between finance and anything else, but I was just like, I want to live in a major city, wear a suit, and be important.
Yeah.
And make a lot of money. And that was the direction I went in.
Nice. What was your favorite suit so far then?
Oh, I think by the time I started in the corporate world, realized very quickly I hated it, loved the startup scene, have always been interested in that. And so I haven't worn many suits. I've ended up way more in the slightly geeky tech startups place instead.
Maybe it's that the subtle scientist influence of your surroundings have called out to you.
And from New Mexico, we're just not very fancy people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So stepping up, so then, if you have been so well prepared, what has been sort of an unexpected challenge as a CEO, maybe?
So I think there's a difference between being a founder CEO and being a professional CEO. I struggle to say professional CEO because I feel like I'm doing this for the first time, but that's what we're called, is you're taking on somebody else's baby. And there's definitely an element of not made here-itis for me. It was like, well, I would do it this way and I wouldn't do it that way. And yeah, just the challenges of having stepped into somebody else's mess. I shouldn't say that maybe. Yeah, somebody else's pre-built structure.
But I think we do have mess. I mean, I think if we're moving at a pace, we create mess, don't we? And I think that's often the challenge of founders letting someone else in to go, oh, what's someone else going to discover? Maybe I give this sort of shiny reality to the outside world, and maybe I'm not brilliant across everything.
Yeah, I think so. And then there's also just a lot of founders are first time everything. And you have to learn along the way. Because I think going back to your original question is as an operator, what do I know that a founder might not? And I don't think it's like being an operator or not. I think it's just a function of having more experience. And so a founder with loads of experience will know as much as I do. So
I wonder if that's totally true. So I work quite a few founders on that transition from founder to CEO. And it feels like a lot of founders come in with they're expert in a thing. And they often start a business because of they're great at that thing. And sort of managerial skills, if we call it professional CEO, the professional side of it, for founders often is not as strong. And you see that with CEOs of businesses, whether it's founders or CEOs, often they're being progressed through being good at a thing rather than being good at management or other stuff. So I'm wondering whether that, only coming in with that sort of outside perspective, you are bringing skills, even at the same level of experience that they might not have.
I think it just depends on what they've been doing. So I've definitely had founders or worked and seen founders who've had a wide career beforehand that have a completely different set of skills than somebody who's become a founder fairly early on in their career. And also has sometimes never worked at a bigger company or never worked at a company.
Yeah.
And therefore, whether or not they were running it, they just have no idea. I see a lot of reinventing of basics that exist that if you'd worked more, you would know exist.
Yeah.
Like performance management,
First about my career, I spent working for a multinational as a management specialist. And the first business I launched, I almost went against everything that I learned. I was like, oh, I'm going to do it completely differently. And then you quickly realize about 6 months in that all the things you learned, the disciplines you learned, really do have a place. So I quickly sort of put them all back in again. All those things, they're really boring basics.
Yeah.
Are actually learned really quite critical.
Yeah. Although they are still often boring and basic. Like one of the things on our podcast is the things I've come across and understanding of is the hard things are always hard and there are no silver bullets. So performance management, nobody does it really well. There are always hard things about it because fundamentally there's hard in it. OKRs, I don't know anybody other than OKR consultants who love them. They're like the best of a bad breed of bad things. So sometimes some of the boring stuff, it is the best that we have, but I can also understand when people don't like them because they're still pretty poor.
So when you're coming in from an outside perspective, are there certain things that you see play out on a regular basis that founders, it'd be helpful to be aware of as they're doing it themselves? So
I think often founders, because they've come in with a bit of romanticism, because we all have, and we've all think that this startup world is super cool and we're going to be Google in the future, focus on not necessarily vanity metrics, but vanity activities. So part of it is how much have they raised and who have they raised it from? What's their PR presence like? do they have the ping pong table? Do they have a cool logo? And very much in the external trappings of what they think a good startup looks like rather than the fundamentals like, do you have product market fit? Do you have a team that works well together? Are you putting scaffolding up around your original hires because you don't want to get rid of them because they're your cousin or your best friend or whatever? And so avoiding those by really focusing on the external.
I hear both those points. So the look on like what success looks like rather than what it feels like. And then the sort of protecting the wrong people sometimes. How do you find that coming in when sort of there is an existing team and there may be some favorites in there for various reasons? Do you find you'd get carte blanche to make changes, or is that often a challenge?
So in my situation, I've had carte blanche to do whatever I want. The original founder CEO is completely out of the business. I think as a professional CEO, it's really hard when you have the original one hovering around, either still in the business in some sort of special projects or on the board meddling. It's much easier in the position that I'm in where there is nobody who's going, well, I wouldn't do it that way, or the reason why I did it that way is this, or let me just come in again. So I'm not in that position, but I have definitely seen that play out. And I've also seen where it's really hard to hire the right CEO and make that transition. And so there's been a lot of professional CEOs who fail, and that charismatic original founder visionary comes back in to turn things around. And because they are a better leader than they think they realize they are.
So actually they've given themselves permission, they've tried it and given themselves permission to actually do it? Is that right?
I think there's times where they get pressure from the board. Are they the right person? Can they professionalize it? You get to a point where it's plateaued and you need somebody else in. And I'm talking about businesses with a bit more scale. You see the story. And sometimes the new CEO comes in and it goes brilliantly, but quite often it doesn't. And because of that, visionary CEO was really needed, understands the market. People have joined because of them, and they have created a good culture. And I often think boards get that wrong, where they think it's the CEO, but really it might be the CEO has a blind spot around hiring better leadership. And the leadership team needs to step up and not the CEO. And the CEO needs to step up by getting a better leadership team in place.
Yeah, I mean, I've very much called no excuses, but whole things around the management layer. I think when you go from startup scale up, that injection, the management layer changes everything. And the founders often find themselves overwhelmed, not necessarily because they're micromanagers or they want to do it all. They just rationally can't delegate because they don't have the team to delegate to. And so often you start, I'm a micromanager. I don't have the skills for this. I need to find someone else. It's like, no, actually, you're great. They say there's some people skills you need to learn, but fundamentally, you've got the wrong management layer to actually execute.
But then the real problem is also, again, I think you see founders, the original leadership team are friends and family.
Yes.
And there's a lot of trust in that. And they are capable people, but they're often not as, nobody's experienced in the team. And then when you start to move in out of your network and having to use headhunters and figure it out and hire for new execs, it's really hard. The fail rate is 50%. And how you do it well, how you don't lose time or figure it out very quickly. Like it's a real challenge, but it's absolutely necessary.
I think it's worth acknowledging that the failure rate for new hires, pretty senior hires, is higher just because you haven't hired it before. You don't necessarily know what to look for.
And culture. So I think what ends up happening is, first of all, they're senior because they were able to get to a certain point. They have good soft skills. They're bright. But that doesn't mean that they're actually capable themselves. And so you need to do a lot of backdoor references, people who reported to them, peers, not just the person they reported to, dig into their background. But then the other part that's so hard is, do you actually have shared values and shared leadership style? And I don't know how you do that in an interview process, because everybody's values, nobody's going to be like, oh, no, I hate open. I definitely don't want to be open. Trustworthy? No, that's not me. And so it's digging out for what does it actually mean? What is your actual leadership style and what is theirs? And more often than not, it's a clash of leadership style than anything else that causes the failure, in my opinion.
So when you say clash of leadership styles, just can you give an example to bring it to life?
So fundamentally values, in that you're saying whatever your values are for the company, and the other person's like, yep, 100%, those are my values as well. But rather than saying, how do you lead? What do you value in leadership? And it's how do you day-to-day lead that makes a difference? Because the bigger your business gets, that leadership team needs to embody the culture of your organization. And every person will create a slightly different culture, but you need to make sure that they work together and that you don't end up with fiefdoms. The weird baggage that they take in and amplify throughout the business is weird baggage that works with yours.
Yes.
And
we all have weird baggage.
We all have it. And we just need to make sure that whatever they bring into the business works with what you have in the business rather than chafes. So sometimes you do end up with somebody who can't actually do their job. But quite often it's like, oh, well, now this team won't work with anybody else, or whatever they're doing for how the managers they hire, everybody's quitting from that team. Or I thought that they were delivering, but now I discover it's all lies because what they care about more is vanity metrics. And it's that next layer that you have to unpick to understand what's actually going on. And that's where the fail rate comes in.
I think it's helpful to acknowledge that up front, isn't it? Because I think there's a tension of like, oh, I'm going to hire someone senior. I need to trust them. I need to give them space. They're going to be great. But actually what we're saying is they're more likely to fail probably. And therefore actually you should be closer in the first point so that you can really uncover those behaviors, uncover things, support them, but also correct fairly quickly if it's not right.
And get that spidey feeling. I find it really difficult to monitor those things, but not do their job for them, because I have a few things that as soon as I notice, I'm like, there's a problem here. One is when a new hire takes more effort than they deliver back, regardless of seniority. But in a senior leader, that's a real issue. If they need a lot of onboarding and they need because your interview process should give them all the context that they need. You need them to go and lead, but also verify that what they're doing is right. And then the other one is how much scaffolding do you have to put around a person? And that's normally where their weird baggage comes out. So the person who doesn't work well with others or makes a decision but then reverts on that decision, or you end up having to hire 3 other people to support them, or you have to have a process that works for them. And it's all very subtle. And then it becomes, this is a person. It's not.
I really feel that sense of just you kind of making adjustments around someone to make the work like I'm going to hire someone else here just to cover for that, or just going to tweak that process. We need a better, when the solution is a better process, I think that's often a warning sign. Yeah.
So those are the things that I look at for senior leadership hires.
How do you manage to balance then that sense of you want to give them, you don't want to take you more time than you want to have a good interview process, but you're staying close enough to see these things. How do you get that right in those early stages?
I don't think I do. I reflect a lot on it. I think it's definitely one of those areas that I'm not great at. I'm a big picture thinker. I don't really like detail. I don't like micromanagement. And so I don't always have that discipline that I need to really get in under the detail, and end up picking it out somewhat through the rest of the team and their feedback when commitments stop being made. And then some of those other ones where it's like too much effort, what's going on? I wish I could say, right, here is my 90-day plan and it's super structured and ticking off the boxes, but I don't have that in me. And I also think in startups, people put in process inappropriately and too much structure that doesn't work because you have to be able to be flexible. So it means that you end up needing, for me at least, I shouldn't say you, for me, I need to be very aware and observant, but not ticking boxes or following a framework to figure it out.
If there's a balance then between being consistent in how you approach people, but not be overly dogmatic in how you're doing, like not too checkbox.
Yeah, and also too rigid, because it slows things down. And particularly, we've always had to be flexible in startup land to figure out what's going on and the market changes. But now with AI, the level of flexibility and how fast the market's changing is something none of us have experienced previously. And if you start to solidify and codify rules and ways of working that are completely irrelevant in a month's time, you have to undo it. You confuse people. You're rolling out change unnecessarily. So I think the light touch, and I'm going to come back to a lot of observation and reflection, is what's needed right now rather than mindless box ticking.
I suppose even observation and reflection takes time. It's still like putting time aside to think about it, be aware of it, and not just going, I'll come back to this in 3 months, 6 months, once they're onboarded and they should do their job in a really great manner.
For me, shower time. It's like I get all of my thinking then. So, and so those are when those moments and the dots come together, and I'm like, oh, that didn't work well. The other thing that's happened a lot as I've matured later in my career, as I've become way more trusting of my gut and my sensation and the sensation of things and intuition. Early in my career, I actually used to brand myself as the person that helped founders move away from intuition and to like facts and data-driven decisions. And now I've come full circle and I'm way more about trusting my gut, following the intuition, that inkling that something's not right, and being so much more open to my own physical sensations and then following that. And that plays out way better. And I don't know if some of it's just a function of experience, because you don't have those inklings without having the experience that then reminds you.
Yeah, I wonder also you need to be a bit late in your career to have enough experience within to be able to trust your intuition fully. Like I wonder earlier, there is more emotion, there's more reaction as opposed to intuition. I think there's a difference.
Definitely, because it's not reaction, it's not vibrant. I'm here because I feel it here. It's like a inkling, it's a subtlety. And I was like, oh no, let me go with where that takes me.
Yeah.
And quite often that will be where deciding on a leader comes out of.
It's quite hard, I think, for founders when they're so in the moment and they're busy and they're in a rush and think to actually pay attention to that inkling sometime, because it's like, I don't really have time to fully explore what that feeling is. I almost don't want to in some ways, because that might put a problem on my plate that I don't want to have to fix.
Yes, and it's been the biggest unlock of my life. And it took me a very long time. So I ended up in between New Voice Media and Peak with my mother dying. I got massively into yoga and then discovered a teacher and one class. And I was just like, it was called Hatha Yoga, but it was unlike any yoga I'd ever experienced in my life. And I was just like, what is this? This is amazing. And I ended up working with her one-on-one for 5 years. And we both left yoga during that period. And I did a lot of time unlearning everything I'd learned from yoga and learning to trust my body, trust my intuition and my sense. And it's now like a superpower. I'm so much calmer. I still will have the occasional temper tantrum, but they're much, much rarer. And I can just have early warning system in my body. And either if the anger's coming, the big toe goes, I'm like, okay, let me breathe through this. Or when I was really leading a sales team and they really upset me, I'm like, I feel that anger and they're going to feel that anger. But I did it because I wanted to wake them up and freak them out. So I used it on purpose rather than it being against me. And so by developing it, I'm so much less reactive and so much more purposeful in the decisions that I make and the way that I lead my life. And it's not just, it's interesting. It's just like, I'm too busy. I can't be bothered. That's just the pushing it all down until something erupts and being afraid of the pain, but the pain is never going to go away. Then you're just giving yourself pain around pain. And so taking the time and being brave and walking through the fire to the other side releases so much. And then you can make better decisions and lead a more purposeful life. So I don't give anybody permission to say, oh, no, it's too hard. I'm just going to do it some other time. I mean, maybe there's too much going on in your life and you can't face it, but let that seed be planted and work its way through. And when you're ready, go for it, because the rewards are amazing.
So I'm saying really on that. How, if for founders listening, I mean, is for you, was yoga as a way into it?
Yeah, accidentally, but yeah.
And yoga and showering. What would you recommend for other founders and to create that space or to create that insight or to start walking down that path?
It can be so many things. Dance is another, like something that's physical. Dance is another one. I know martial arts can really do the same. And also, so my therapist, the former yoga teacher, and she actually does embodied therapy and somatic therapy. So that's where she's decided to go into. She always talks about there being different channels, and one channel will be more active at one point of your life than another. And so that can be talking, it can be writing, it can be movement, it can be spirituality. So some of it is just to be aware of which channel is the most active at the moment and go for that channel. And then also be aware when that channel is no longer active and a new channel has come up. And so if, as we're talking and you're going, oh, that sounds interesting, I'd like to do something with my body, go and explore different movements and see which one catches your interest, your urge, and go that way. If you're thinking, no, that's horrible, but wow, talking sounds amazing, go and follow that channel, or writing, or spirituality, whatever it is.
So actually that you could, it sounds quite a lot about just awareness, just like getting in touch with your body, getting in touch with something else. That the route to that, I mean, so it could be running, could be martial, whatever. Just create time and space for you to just get back in touch.
Yeah, it is awareness. And so I guess if I reflect on my journey, I did 5 years of talking therapy, psychotherapy with somebody, or did meditation through that. So I did Headspace for a couple years. I don't meditate anymore because I don't really feel like I need to. And what I also really did not like how dogmatic meditation was and how there's so many rules. So this is another thing is I think to get started, you really care about rules because you want to make sure you do it right. And then the more you do something, the more you realize, well, that's somebody else's rules. And actually how it works for me is completely different. And so I'm a real contrarian. And if you give me a rule, I don't know if I can swear on this one, but you can just imagine, I'm just like, fuck you and your rules. Yeah. I'm not going to do that. But I also understand that you need rules to begin with. But you need to give yourself permission when you can step away from those rules. And so for me, for meditation, I don't care if I'm sitting upright. I don't care if I'm completely still. It's just taking a breath and just accepting that breath. Whether I'm laying down or I'm on the tube or my eyes are open or my eyes are closed. That's what I've taken away from meditation. And just stop holding yourself to all of these arbitrary rules because it worked for somebody else.
It sort of weirdly links back to that idea of scaffolding for people. It's kind of like if you feel you put lots of scaffolding around people, that's a warning sign. That's just kind of like even for yourself, if you need to put lots of scaffolding around it, that's probably a warning sign as well.
Yeah, but also I understand in the beginning you need it. And I think that's also why, religion is very popular and people like to follow rules and it feels like you're doing the right thing. But then if you look at the Christian mystics or any of the mystics, they've transcended those rules. They've discovered their own way of living. And then they ironically create rules that other people follow to then live their way.
Well, I suppose done right, it's almost like you're just dangling down a ladder to give people a route into something. It's helpful rather than just it's like with your team, giving them a completely blank sheet of paper going, have freedom is kind of terrifying, actually limiting.
Yeah.
Like structured freedom is much better. And over time, you sort of increase the freedom.
Yeah.
I suppose it's like that for getting to anything.
Yeah.
But I went to a thing once, there's a monk there talking about how mindfulness was like your mind's a grasping animal. And just that image stayed with me so well. It's like you're not trying to get like a calm, blank thing. It's just like controlling what your brain is grabbing onto. Even just that one sentence helped me so much.
It also used to feel like with meditation I was failing because I was thinking about things and I wasn't in this blank state. It was like, unless you're deeply asleep or dead, I don't know, you're never really in a blank state. And for me, it was the Headspace image of a wild horse that gets pulled in until it's tame. And that was the image that helped me understand that taming so I can concentrate on one thing. And if my attention moves to something else, I notice that my attention is moved and then I bring it back or I move it to that. But it's almost like there's two of you, and being aware of both of you is what you get.
So much is why I feel that sort of mobile phones are so dangerous, because they almost like start destroying your mind's ability to be mindful. It's kind of, you become so responsive or short attention span. It's almost the opposite. It's almost like deprogramming your brain, or not sure that's the right phrase, but like it makes your brain less effective.
Yeah, although it just seems to be endemic, like mobile phone and everything else. If you've ever tried to watch a movie from the 80s now, they're so slow. The pace is painful. It's amazing. We watched Good Morning Vietnam with the kids recently, and I remember it just being absolutely amazing. And about, 85, 90 minutes in, I was asleep, and the kids had just wandered off, never to return. So even with all of this, there's still just our sense of stimulation is heightened.
Okay, so we've
gone everywhere, haven't we?
Yeah. So if we bring it back to like, what's one thing that you think if the founders are thinking about an operator, bring an operator into their business, and rightly or wrongly going, this next stage is not for me. I need someone into like a professional CEO to do this next stage. What's the one thing that you would suggest they do, like right now after listening to the podcast?
Well, it's interesting because I think depending on that CEO and whether or not they are the visionary and they are the company, and no matter what, and they are in the company is critical to its existence, I would suggest bringing in a strong COO rather than CEO. If they know that they are done, don't want to do it anymore, have their new idea ready to completely move away from the business, then I would bring a CEO in.
That's nice.
But I think you need to figure that part out first. And I think you need to go on a holiday to figure that part out. Rather than making, you need, and not just a week's holiday, like a month off out of the business to really reflect on what is your driver, what do you want, and then decide, is it a COO or a CEO? Yeah,
I think that's really nice. I think founders do at stage when they're often, when you're thinking about these things as a founder, you are quite, if you're not burnt out, you are often on the way there because your current route is not working. So there's frustration with like, you're behind your targets, you've lent in, you've put the hours in, you're like, oh, I'm not even sure I can do this anymore. That's not a great place for making a decision from.
Yeah.
And actually, I found with clients, like you can bring them back if you can like simplify their vision, if you can reconnect them to that mission and their business, if you can get them back in control, get them to see it's their team. Sometimes you don't need anyone. It's actually just changing, or might you change the management team generally, but just changing how you're doing it is possible. I think more change is possible for founders than they believe. There's this narrative we sometimes tell ourselves of, I'm the startup person, I'm not the scale-up person. And that's kind of a comforting narrative sometimes, but it's not always true.
Yeah. Quite often it's not. I mean, I guess we think about the ones who are the stars of the founder CEOs. So I think work with a coach, take proper time out, restore, and really reflect on, I wake up tomorrow and I'm not part of this business. How do I feel?
Yeah. It's an opportunity to almost treat like a new startup.
Yeah.
I sometimes find a lot like if you started a business today and you had the clients you have the experience you have the team that you have, I think you'd actually be quite excited by that.
Yeah. But that's also where you need to go and get some energy back.
Yeah.
And disconnect so that you can start again. And I know everybody's like, oh, I can't possibly do that, blah, 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 blah. But if you were diagnosed with cancer or something horrible happened and you were out of your business for a month, your business would survive.
Yeah.
And you just have to think of it that way. And also another thing that I've really realized is we're so easy as humans to attach onto things and give a huge amount of meaning to whatever it is. So it could be for founders, it's going to be your company. And you forget that actually it's really easy for you to attach meaning to something else as soon as you go and start a new thing. And so part of having a proper break is to decide, I am still attached and this is my life, or actually, no, I'm just done.
Yeah.
And this thing over here is where I want to attach. But you have to give yourself enough of a break to detach so you can figure out where you want to put your meaning.
Yeah.
And so then I have advice on either one, like what to look for in a CEO and what to look for in a COO.
Perfect. Let's go with both.
Okay. So COO is the one that I'm much more comfortable
Yeah.
with, given my background and the number of COOs that I speak with. And that is basically dating. You have to spend a lot of time with that person. I wouldn't hire them immediately. I'd bring them on as a contractor, but I would have a lot of dinners with them. I would go through a dating process because you are absolute partners together and you need to have complementary skills with enough overlap that you understand each other. And if you have too much overlap, what's the point? And you don't have any overlap, you're not going to work together. One of the things that I did, I mean, this wasn't in the hiring process, but just how we work together with the CEO at Peak is, and it's actually how I do it with my husband as well, is we listed all of the things that we hate doing, each of us individually. And then we looked at our lists and then we picked off the things that don't mind doing from the other person's list. And there was actually a surprising amount that was able to switch in both relationships.
Yeah.
And so I would suggest doing that as part of the hiring process because it also gets you to understand their strengths and weaknesses and where their passion lies and what gives them energy and also what gives you energy. And so if you can switch your shit lists
I love it.
enough, you know that they're the right person.
Yeah.
Given that you don't hate them and you know you have the right the really shared values matter so much in that role because you're giving somebody, assuming that you're the external visionary CEO, you're giving somebody carte blanche to run the internal business for you. So it needs to be that they're going to run the business that you envision the business to be.
And then for the CEO?
For the CEO, this is where I think it's much more important for you to figure out that you're actually going to detach. So if your idea is to become the special projects person or the executive chair, then you're hiring a COO anyhow.
Yeah, just a very frustrated CEO.
Yeah, who should be a COO.
Yeah.
Because you're not letting go of the business. So then if you actually are letting go and you're going to leave the business, I don't know how involved you should be because you're not going to work with this person. You want to make sure that they're going to make you money and that all of the time and you've put in is going to contribute. But if you're trusting your board and you trust that your board are making the right decisions for the business, other than being a salesperson in the process, I don't actually think you should have a huge say.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that's such a good insight to end with. Like, just be honest with yourself what you actually want. Like, how willing are you to detach? And if you're not, don't hire COO in disguise. And regardless, I like this idea of the shit list as well. I think it's brilliant. Like, I can see how I haven't done it explicitly with my wife, but there's definitely a nice mix of like things we both hate that the other person's perfectly happy to do.
Yeah.
Well, Beth, thank you so much for coming on today. That's been awesome.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
Such a good episode today with Beth. I love the insight around how willing are you to let go as a founder. Remember, we'll see you next week for another episode with Freddie on a Monday with a post bag or Wednesday for a founder episode. If any questions, just reach out at hello@peer-effect.com. In the meantime, thanks for listening and happy scaling.